Alrighty, good afternoon. Coming up on 1 o'clock here on a Monday, and can you believe we are the final day of June? Well, I tell you what, it has been one of those months that flew by for various reasons. You know, we were hot at times. Other times it felt like we were still in May with crazy rain totals. So let's talk about a couple things here. It is a holiday week where a lot of people will be traveling, whether it's through the state of Alabama, it's north, south, down to the beach. We're going to be wet the first half of the week. If you're traveling, that'll impact you. We'll talk about it. Beach forecast, not good early week, great late week. We're drier and warmer by the 4th. And right now, I got to say, July 4th looks good. So we'll talk about what that means. Temperatures here at 1 o'clock are likely, feeling a lot warmer than they are showing up. So that's our current temperature. I just want to go to our heat index because it is so humid, okay? The heat index, again, nowhere near where it was, a week or so ago. But, man, it's cloudy in Birmingham, and it feels like 90. Let's look at the actual temperatures right now, and it's not going to feel like that at all. The way it works, our surface is so saturated that any heat applied to the surface at all will give off this very heavy oppressive feel to it because our dew points are so high. So this is also what's going to help us, develop those afternoon, evening thunderstorms. As of now, pretty quiet in general for most of the state. We had one little shower over here south of Gadsden. We have a little boundary, it looks like, stretching towards Atlanta from Lineville over just south of I-20. But again, these would be moving south, no lightning strikes with these. Southern half of the state is where it's busy. Jackson, Monroeville, that 65 corridor, once you get down near Evergreen and south of Greenville, you've got, heavy rain near Bruton. And this is a stretch that if you're headed to Pensacola, will probably be a busy afternoon. I-10, scattered thunderstorms all along there. And a lot of the beaches dealing with rain as of now. So will this stuff continue? I want to go to our futurecast, okay? And while I've said many times, this is not the answer key. This gives us kind of a look at what we could see. This is later on today. I will say, models have really, really backed off on the coverage this afternoon. And not that they're the answer key, but I do think the southern half of the state will probably have the bulk of the rainfall. I would not be surprised to see something like this, where some remnant stuff from the day can actually feed into the night simply because it is not only so humid, but we actually have a front that's approaching, and that's going to aid in overall development. So this is at 1 o'clock Tuesday morning. Again, showing a few spotty showers. Here's where we're going to see the best coverage of the week. It's going to be Tuesday. It doesn't matter where you are in the state. I think the majority of us end up getting rain. So this is at about 1 o'clock, and we are looking at a quiet start to the afternoon for 80% of the state. Move that ahead some. Boy, you've got a front coming through, and you just immediately, with the interaction, you've got a front moving south. You've got incredibly tropical, rich, unstable air in place. And we're going to add to that an extra lifting mechanism. So what we've had here recently is you got the daytime heating, rising air, development of thunderstorms. Now we're adding a front to that, and this is going to make good coverage. It's also probably going to give a couple thunderstorms a good little extra oomph. So I expect, lots of lightning. Brief gusty winds will be possible. The majority is probably below severe limits, but, I can't rule out when you throw in another lifting mechanism like a front of them having a little bit more pop to them. By 9 o'clock, you got a front stretching from Knoxville to Starkville. And points northwest of there are going to be drier. And eventually, this is going to force rain chances to be focused and subdued south, really down towards the beaches by Wednesday morning. All right, so let's take this even further. Let's take a look at the rain coverage. This is NDFD data. And what this basically does is it looks at the probabilistic coverage of rain. Tuesday's highest. Show you this, and then I want to show you Wednesday. So while rain is still possible, I'm not putting rain out of the forecast after Tuesday, but the focus of rain begins to shift much further south. So in the Wiregrass, Tuesday, Wednesday are both going to be wet. In Montgomery, Tuesday, Wednesday, both potentially wet. You get north of Montgomery, Demopolis, Auburn, probably looking at a drier setup beginning on Wednesday. So obviously we're going to have some hiccups along the way, but I think that's the general forecast. So Tuesday, anywhere from the mid-80s. We're looking at, in general, the setup being the warmest temperatures are going to be the areas that miss the rainfall. It sounds very, very common sense, but that's exactly what we're going to see here. And all in all, the forecast is going to call for our warmest temperatures to be on the back half of the week. So speaking of back half of the week, I want to go to this. This is the European model, and this one's been a little bit better at handling rain coverage. So we're just going to grab this one, but notice the front. This is kind of rare. You got a reinforcing high back here over Kansas City, and this is going to help push a front a little bit further south than is normal for this time of year. All right, so this is at about 3 o'clock on Wednesday, and again, this kind of lines up with what I just showed you. Where is the focal point of the rain? It's down here, okay? So beach folks, you're going to deal with rain through Wednesday. All right, it won't be all week, so let's move ahead to Thursday morning. In fact, we'll go to Thursday at noon. The front's not going to make it to the coast. I'm shocked it makes it past I-20, but it is going to offer a bit of a reprieve from the organized rainfall Thursday afternoon for much of the state of Alabama, for the Florida Gulf Coast, for the Alabama Gulf Coast, for those beach-bound folks. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I think look much, much better. As this high re-solidifies over the Tennessee Valley, it's going to aid to just keeping that front to the south. However, with this frontal boundary, you'll have to watch for some enhanced, I guess, intensity with this low. You move a low or a frontal boundary over warm waters this time of year, it has a tendency to redevelop, organize, and drop a lot of heavy rain. I don't think we'll have anything tropical with it, but something to watch nonetheless. And then by the weekend, boy, I got to say, we look pretty good for the 4th. I don't want to say it and jinx it, but let's go to, like, put it at 8 o'clock on Friday. I think a lot of the southeast pretty dry for fireworks, so that would be an absolutely wonderful, wonderful setup should this actually continue. So let's kind of a look at things from a rain standpoint. How about temperatures again, staying above average through the first half of July? How about that? So we start the month below average with temperatures in the 80s. We'll be warm by the end of the week, and potentially looking at above average temperatures for the second half of the month, which could mean below average rain chances. So much of the Atlantic, the MDR is what we call it, Main Development Region. Okay, that's the area we look at this time of year with those tropical waves coming off. It's very quiet. You see this little yellow area that is off, including the Florida Peninsula. So that is exactly what I just outlined for you in that last graphic with the future look at the European model. Development is not very likely with this. There's a lot of stuff on social. You just got to be careful who you follow on social, because we got a lot of people who will just take a screen grab of this and throw it out there without the right context. Could something develop? Sure. Do I think it will? No, not at all. You've got the right setup. You've got a leftover frontal boundary, but you don't have all the other right characteristics. And most of the global models are just absolutely nowhere close to development with this. So again, a lot of people going to look for engagement and whatnot on posts with that. I don't see this as a problem. I want to do our future view at the beach because people see that and they also think it'll impact beach weather. Well, the focal point's going to be east of here, so I think that actually improves our beach weather. Futurecast, again, Tuesday is going to be a wet day along the beaches. Not to say there won't be periods where we turn dry, but it's going to be pretty wet through the day Tuesday. Wednesdays, when I look at kind of an improvement in the overall setup. Not to say that, again, we couldn't have rain, but Wednesdays when I start to see maybe a better setup for being out at the beach, avoiding thunderstorms. So your icons are going to say this on your app. It won't be stormy all week. I do think Tuesday's a valid. I think Wednesday, Thursday, things improve, and then 4th of July weekend looks pretty good as well. With the presence of that low and that frontal boundary, got to be careful and aware of possible rip current. So you can see there as I animate that forward, there's a big shift in our winds because of that front. And so we're going to see a moderate to at times high risk of rip currents. So that's just something to keep in mind if you're going to be down along the beach, which I know a lot of people are. So one last look at the composite reflectivity here. And again, we're looking at a fairly quiet start to the afternoon here. Clouds are helping kind of limit the convective activity, but we will see development later on today. So we'll keep an eye on it for you. I'll have another update here, full forecast discussion on a Tuesday. And if you go over to my Facebook page, Evan Chikvera, I'll have updates on the radar throughout the afternoon. So hope you guys have a great start to the week. Be safe if you're traveling, and we'll see you next time.